Hi guys, Ali Taylor here, and today we're going to do a backspin challenge between a new wedge and a 30-year-old wedge. Right then, so loads of golfers tell me they want more backspin. So what we're going to see is it the equipment you're using that's really costing you? About 2 weeks ago, I bought a new set of irons, an old set of irons, off eBay. And with them came a sand wedge. It's at 56 degrees. So I've got my current 56 degree. I'm going to hit full shots and partial shots with both using the Titleist Pro V1X on TrackMan, on the simulator. We're going to see how much backspin we get with a nice clean dry golf ball, and then I'm going to wet the golf ball. We're going to hit the shots again. We're going to see what the performance is like with a premium ball, and then we're going to see what it's like as we take the characteristics of the wedges and the ball away and reduce the friction, because it's the friction between the club and the ball that's generating the backspin. And we're going to see, do 30-year-old grooves still work like new ones? So we can see with the new wedge, it's not completely new anymore, so it's got a few little marks on the face, but generally speaking, and particularly this finish, should do a really good job on removing moisture. But you can see good grooves, and let's see how much spin this creates. So once we look at the 30-year-old wedge, we can see a big difference. Grooves kind of look a little bit wider. Certainly lots and lots of wear on the club face. It'll be really interesting to see how this kind of generates spin. Right then, so we've got the two wedges. I'm going to hit full shot and partial swing from 100 yards and 60 yards with Titleist Pro V1X on TrackMan as ever. We're going to look at backspin rates, but I'm going to hit it with nice clean dry golf ball first, and then I'm going to wet the golf ball with water and see how good or not so the grooves still are on that old wedge, and how is that going to affect your performance if you're not using a new wedge. So 100 yards, which is pretty much a full 56 for me. I'm going to hit new wedge first, then the old wedge. So it was a nice shot to finish with, and we could see there round about that 10,000 revs per minute with my 56 degree. So that was the, it's not brand new wedge, but still very new. So let's move into the old wedge, and certainly when we had a close-up look at the face, we could see very worn. Actually still feels very rough. And you can still feel the grooves on there. So it doesn't feel, even though it looks really bad, actually doesn't feel that bad. So let's go some full ones with this. And again, another decent one to finish. But we could see there the backspin much kind of more around that 8,000. So probably a 20% drop off, even when we're talking about a nice clean dry golf ball. So really the grooves aren't having to do too much work there. That's more about the club face. Right, so partial swing just over 60 yards. And again, nice clean ball, nice clean dry wedge. So those last couple, slightly lower spin, but generally kind of around that 7,000 mark, which is what I'd be looking for on this length shot. So let's move into the lower wedge again. Nice clean ball, clean dry club face. Right, so again, pretty much like the full shots, we saw a drop off in spin, probably around about that 15%, which I know doesn't sound a lot, but it is about, for me with wedges, having control on the ball. I like to stop the ball kind of as close to my pitch mark as I can. I mean, what I would say is if you're somebody who always releases, as long as it's consistent, it does the same thing. But we can see a big drop off there in performance. So now we're going to move into the wet golf ball. Right, so with the wet ball, I'm going to hit the old wedge first this time, just to keep you guys guessing. So we're going to go wet golf ball, old wedge, but still dry face, because that's something you can control. Let's see how it performs. So I'm going to keep the club face dry because that's something you have got control over, but the golf ball wet. Let's see if and how much spin comes off. So we see with the old wedge there, not a massive change in performance, to be honest. The spin was about the same. So the groove's still obviously doing a reasonable job there, but maybe just the wear on that face, just not still creating enough friction between club and ball. So let's move into the new wedge now and see if that does a better job. So we could see there, only dropped down to just under 9,500. So the groove's really doing a good job there, getting that moisture away from the ball and keeping that friction between the club and ball and getting a decent amount of backspin. Right then, so let's look at those partial swings again. We're going to go old wedge first. So we can see the last one there with the old wedge did spin a little bit more, but as a general rule, just ultra low spin, and we could see how the ball carried a lot further and then released, so a flyer with each of those pitch shots, making it incredibly difficult for me to judge how big a swing I need to make, because they're suddenly flying an extra maybe 7, 8, 10 yards through the air and not stopping. So that moves us nicely into the new wedge. So we can see there loads more spin with the new wedge, and it's noticeable after every shot how much moisture's on that club face. You know, so those grooves really stripping that moisture off the golf ball. Obviously, a drop off from what I would normally see with a nice dry ball, but you could see the difference between new wedge and old wedge, absolutely massive. Right guys, so we could see even on the dry ball, there was a decent drop off, probably 15% drop off between new and old. Certainly when there was anything in between the club and the ball though, we saw an even bigger drop off. Now, I'm not saying you should be going out buying new wedges every single year, but I do think that your wedges are a really important part of your game. You know, I think driver's vital because it gets you off the tee and gives you a chance to score. Putter's obviously important to finish it off, but if you can get those wedge shots closer and when you round the greens chip it so you know what the ball's doing more often, you should get it nearer the hole and you should be getting your scores down. So guys, hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, like and share it, comment below and I'll get back to as many people as I can. If you've enjoyed today's video and you don't currently subscribe, please click the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and then you'll find out whenever I drop a new video. Follow me on all my social media platforms, all under Ali Taylor Golf. Hopefully catch up with some of you guys down here soon. Stay in contact.